Ugh. What is up, everybody? My name is Trips, and it's been about 5 years since I fell in love with the Moba slash Action-RTS genre through playing League of Legends. And since then, I have, however, switched to Dota 2 about 2 years ago as my main game to play. However, I do still dabble a bit in League with some of my older friends, as well as I've been playing a bit of Smite and a lot of Heroes of the Storm on the side with my brother. So now that they have almost 350 characters throughout the 4 games, I want to take a look at my personal top 10 characters throughout the entire MOBA genre, minus Han and some of the other weird games. Before we get the list started, I want to name a couple of honorable mentions because obviously I can't fit everyone in a top 10. So I'm going to say Abathur from Heroes of the Storm for the ability to copy an ally's abilities, Doom from Dota 2 for his gold production, as well as the ability to shut down the spells and items of anyone he so chooses, and Giannis from Smite for his ability to teleport through walls, and even his ultimate, which lets him and his whole entire team teleport almost halfway across the map.
Number 10.
Woohoo! Thor himself is a god I always see myself gearing towards when I do play Smite. Admittedly though, Smite is the game out of the 4 that I have not played the most out of. However, Thor easily earns his spot at number 10 for his ability to fly up and drop down on the enemy, as well as unleash the wall that offers a stun, his AoE spin that does a pretty decent amount of damage if you level it up, throwing his Mjolnir hammer, which does damage when it passes through enemies, and you're also able to teleport to it on a second activation and can even be used through walls. I usually play Thor in the jungle so that when you gank another side lane, you can turn something like a 2v2 into a 3v2 super fast, and if not dealt with, Thor can offer a lot of map pressure and just help your team overall snowball into an early victory.
Number 9.
I've been to hell and back to hell and back.
Just the theme of Lyon himself is amazing to me. From his demonic sorceress look all the way to his giant claw hand, Lyon earns his spot for me at number 9 for a pretty simple reason. If you're forced to pick a support, playing Lyon just doesn't feel like a support. He seems like a less item-dependent mage. From his heavy crowd control through the stun that he has, as well as the hex, Lyon can control an entire enemy team if he's positioned well, which is usually why most people pick up a Blink Dagger early on him. On top of all of his abilities, he has the ultimate, which is able to nuke down pesky runners, which is why he feels like a mage to me. He can do a lot of damage in a very small amount of time. Although there is one side thing to him, which is you still gotta play swords, and that is something I will never get over. I won't.
Number 8.
Master yourself, master the enemy.
Lee Sin to me was the epitome of skill capped. He earns his spot at number 8 for the desire I always had to push my mechanics to that next level, just to improve at him as well as the game as an overall. Lee Sin has probably a pretty complicating moveset which allows him to bounce around the rift like a ping pong ball, whether it be dashing to an enemy just to execute them, dashing back to an ally, giving himself true sight of invisible units, or dragging kicking that pesky assassin back into their own team, knocking everyone up. Lee Sin has such an amazing toolkit, and some players may not even think of some of the things that he can do. That one pesky ward that you don't like to place because you're not a support, that is a second flash for Lee Sin if used correctly as a ward hop.
Number 7.
If light cannot escape me, what hope have you?
Dota 2 has some of the craziest items and spells that are able to counter one another in so many ways. But very few heroes get an AoE stun that's able to go through any type of immunity, turning the tides of battle with one good initiation. This is where Enigma shines, earning his spot at number 7 on my countdown with one move, Black Hole. Starting out in the jungle and in some rare cases lanes, Enigma spawns little minions by consuming the energy of any monster he chooses. It only gets worse for the foes of these minions as they replicate themselves if given enough time to attack. Soon, Enigma can make his way out of the jungle, pushing in and pushing towers super fast, helping out his team with a blink dagger, things like refresher orb, getting 2 black holes. Enigma is easily one of the most flashy and one of my favorite team fighters in Dota 2.
Number 6.
Claw or spear, your end's the same.
To me, Nidalee will forever be the spear-throwing queen. While her spear is comparable to someone like Mirana in Dota just for the length the skill shot is, Nidalee with enough ability power can almost one-shot enemies with small enough health pools. For that, and her incredible mobility, Nidalee pounces her way to number 6. Other than her OP spear, she has a heal, traps that offer vision, and can transform into a cat, giving her more movement speed, an execute, and a leap that if used correctly in specific parts of the map, can let her jump through a wall of trees, up and down ledges, and there are a lot of champions with a hybrid moveset, but Nidalee sits atop all of them when compared. Watch out when you're trying to be back to base, because if you don't watch the Fog of War, you could get a ride back for free on the tip of her spear.
Number 5.
All shall suffer!
Recently added to the heroes roster, Leoric sparked my interest not only with his skin letting me relive the glory days of Wrath of the Lich King, but it's his passive that lets him rise to number 5 on my countdown. While it might seem similar to something, say, like Wraith King in Dota, or Anivia's passive in League, there's no way to fight against it. With no mana cost, no objective to nuke down stopping the spell from going off, and the ability to walk around giving your team vision in ghost form wherever you so choose, this ability is nothing to scoff at, and this comes before you even look at the rest of his moveset. A cone AoE that slows, the mobility he gets from his Wraith Walk, and the drain hope that he has that makes him a fierce dueler. You wouldn't even suspect Leoric to have a choice between 2 heroics, controlling the entire enemy team in a tomb, or a stronger version of his original swing that does it 3 times over and also heals him. Leoric is not a foe you want to mess with.
Number 4.
You're with the trees, aren't you?
I remember watching so many Dota Cinema Hero Spotlights, trying to figure out the perfect hero to play. Someone with high mobility, high burst, but it's also tanky. My first time playing Timbersaw was such a blast, flying across lanes to chase down slow, squishy supports, and for that, Timbersaw cuts his way into number 4. Timber's moveset allows him, like few others on this countdown, a ton of mobility. The catch here is that he mostly uses the trees on the edges of the lanes and the entire map, whether it be grabbing onto one of them with his timber chain allowing him to fly across the lane, dealing damage to anything that he makes contact with, using his saw blade to nuke a short AoE around his body, doing extra damage if he also cuts down trees, and even throwing out his entire saw blade, rendering him unable to attack, but dealing damage for as long as he has the mana to pay for it. The cherry on top of all of this is that he himself is afraid of the trees that he needs so desperately to win.
Number 3.
I foresaw your death the moment you were born.
Void was a carry that I fell in love with early on into the game, but he wouldn't see his uprising until he was supported by the likes of Skywrath Mage, even by himself as a ticking time bomb of, oh god, please don't let this guy farm. For his unstoppability, Void makes his way to number 3, with a possibility of 25% chance to avoid any spell, attack, anything directed at him, an ultimate capable of locking down an entire team for 6 seconds while still being allowed to run around inside of it unaffected, as well as a bash on his normal auto attacks doing double damage inside of the Chronosphere. You wouldn't even think that he would also have a leap allowing to slow enemies wherever he lands or just using it to escape. Void will forever be a force to be reckoned with.
Number 2.
It's my lucky day.
The first character I fell in love with when I started playing League. With nostalgia and a bit of likeliness towards Gambit, TF makes his way to number 2. To this day, I still think that he is an amazing hero design. While his ultimate doesn't have the range of someone, say, like Nature's Prophet's teleport, I feel like the added vision that you get on the enemy team can help make up a little bit for that. He's most well known for his pick a card ability, which when activated lets you choose from one of 3 cards. Reactivating the ability chooses the card. A red card offers AoE damage as well as a slow, a blue card gives a burst of damage with mana return, and the yellow card is the card that stuns. Combine those 2 abilities with a fork-shaped skill shot of cards, a passive cooldown reduction, and if you're not careful against TF, you'll end up as the only feeding Joker.
Number 1.
I am a beacon of knowledge blazing out across a black sea of ignorance.
As one of the most popular heroes in Dota, Invoker gets a lot of grief for just how hard he can be to play. If played properly, however, he has enough spells in his arsenal allowing him to adapt to almost any situation. For those reasons alone, Invoker weaves his way into number 1 as my hands-down favorite Moba character. With 10 spells to be exact, ranging from global nukes, tornadoes, pulling a meteor out of the sky, a mana-stealing AoE, an attack speed buff for himself or another carry, and on top of all of this, an invisibility. Invoker takes somewhat of a piano prodigy to play at the top level. His complexity and spellcrafting nature makes the magician-loving kid inside of me explode with joy every time I play him. The design and complexity that went into this hero trumps any character across the 4 popular games. Go ahead and run like the rat you are. My Sunstrikes won't miss. While I know these games have a pretty big stigma towards the communities being elitist and somewhat toxic towards the other games in the genre, I kind of just look at it like I do the console war. PC Master Race? All joking aside, I really do like to play any of the titles in this genre just because I like the genre itself. Whether it be League of Legends' pretty defined rule set, making it accessible to a wide variety of players because it doesn't need to overcomplicate things, or Dota 2's extreme ability design as well as item design, making for some pretty flashy team fights and extreme solo plays. Even Smite's third-person perspective on the camera and the little bit of FPS-ness mixed in there sets itself apart from the other 3 games. And Heroes of the Storm's almost Mario Kart-esque feel because it came out in a genre that was pretty well defined, but it changed it up with the objective-focused gameplay, and you get to play with some of your favorite Blizzard characters. I would recommend any of these games to anyone who wants to play the genre but is a little bit turned off by the communities. You can just use the mute feature if people are being toxic and make sure that you add people who you think are nice, and you'll find a good group of players to play with who are just looking to play the game with you. I hope you enjoyed my top 10, guys, and if you want me to do the alternate side, if you want me to do the top 10 worst characters that I think are in the MOBA genre, let me know in the comments below, as well as maybe your top 3 if you play one of these games, or if you play multiple of the games, you can probably throw together a top 10. And make sure that you hit that subscribe button because it tells me that you guys like the videos that I'm putting out, and it helps you not miss the videos that I do put out. As well as if you are part of Twitch, go ahead and follow me on my Twitch page, which I'll put the link down below in the description, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.